Ohm Brothers on the subject of divorce. Divorce is a impossible thing if there are children in the picture. The children are a mixture of the blood of both parents, and they are in fact a family no matter what problems they run into. I think Italian law, I don't know if it's still this way, but this particular method is fairly good. You could say both parents go to the office and sign their papers for a divorce, and then 3 years later they have to agree again and sign again, and at least that time I checked, the divorce rate was 1% in Italy. It's 1% divorce rate. I would rather see it be 0%. I don't think divorces should be granted, period, as long as there are children in the picture. If there are no children in the picture, children aren't happening, then to me that's really putting into question of what the marriage is for. Marriage as an original document was for eugenics, for society to keep a regulation on the production of children, and now you can marry animals, or you can marry the same sex, or do whatever you want. It seems the very fundamental reason for these institutions to exist are being destroyed and replaced, and so but in my view, in a real sense, either legal or not, when a man and a woman have children, they have to be responsible to the children at pretty much all costs. The children have just as much rights as the parents do, and their interests are having their mother and father with them during their entire the entire time they're being raised until their adulthood. And it's a big responsibility, and in fact, when you become a parent, you are responsible for the rest of your life to that child. And if that's too heavy a responsibility for you, just don't have children, really. It's there's not much else you can do about it. That's what it's all about. And in my view, people who are, number one, the most emotionally unstable, changing their minds all the time, the ones who are the least emotionally mature, the least logical, the least able to see in the very long term, is often the female out of the couple. And that's why I think probably 90% of divorce threats in marriage are coming from women, and then probably 60-70% of actual divorces are initiated by females. And so women, mothers, just you got to chill out. Don't let your hormones rule your brain. Keep your cool, and remember your responsibility to your children. Marriage is not about love. It's not about romance. At least that's the traditional view. If they're changing the definition of marriage, moving the goalposts or whatever, then just don't go do that. If you want to have a family and to make vows that you're creating a family, you might do better to do that in private these days, or just do it in your church and leave the state and the government out of it, because they're apparently incapable of remembering their commitments either as to what this institution or what these laws are supposed to do. I would consider being married a very, very dangerous situation, particularly in North America. And even if you're having children, I would recommend against it. Do your own vows and stay away from it, because it's definitely very, very dangerous for men to put themselves in that position where the woman at any time can threaten and threaten to take pretty much most of the property, the rights, and the kids and everything else. And that's a pretty scary prospect, and it's not worth it to save, possibly some tax money or this or that. It's more valuable to have your freedom and self-respect. And I think you could draw up these documents on your own. They could even be legal documents, done with a lawyer, your promises and vows, and you don't have to frame it as a marriage, I don't think. In China, the situation is you have to plan your children, so you apply to have a baby, and this would be a good idea if the government was decent, but here it's not particularly. They're not moral people. I would agree in China to make the government people have to sign documents to have children. I think probably most of the common people here are quite nice and good people, and they shouldn't be subject to too much scrutiny. Um, but eugenics is a very powerful, good idea. It's amazing that people are not doing eugenics now, particularly, um, and they see in the short term that it's human rights violation. Oh, I should be able to have as many children as I want. Well, kids and things will affect society, and um, you also have to think about the greater gene pool, the strength of your society, your race, and if you have, a weak disposition, or you have inheritable, you know, um, debilitating traits, then it should be a responsibility not to have children and to leave that for the stronger men. So, but anyway, that's what it is. I don't think divorce is viable. And people bring up all kinds of situations. They'll say, what if one spouse is beating the other? Well, that's illegal. You can take that to the police. All of the problems that can happen in a marriage with kids in a family are dealable. You can deal with these problems on every other level, and you don't have to do this stupid thing where you already have kids and then you're trying to deny that you're a husband, or the woman's trying to deny she's a wife. If you have kids, then you are a husband, you are a wife. Um, rearing children is called husbandry. You go to school, they have a class called animal husbandry. You you don't see a cow has a calf, and then do they have animal divorcing? I mean, they can. It's preposterous. People are trying to deny reality, and especially the responsibility to their kids, and it's very fundamental to society to keep families together. A critical element in serial killing and really sick, weird crime issues is that all of these particular criminals have also come from broken families, and so that's the pain of it, I guess. When you have a family and you decide you're going to take on this lifelong responsibility of having a child, and wow, your spouse goes nuts or has problems or is tormenting you, or giving you problems. Um, the general truth is, unfortunately, that's part of the deal. And but gladly, usually these problems within 2 years clear themselves up. And the two people, the couple, discovers that actually they are basically good people and they can stay together. This was the result of an American study, and you should check it out. Basically, 90% of divorces in the States would not happen if they had to just wait 2 years and chill out and discuss their issues and actually deal with them. And divorce is not a way of dealing with issues. You can deal with issues by talking, being logical, setting up agreements, getting a moderator, going through counseling, seeing your priest, which I think would be the best. And but divorce doesn't solve anything, and it's imposing a certain fiction on the child that, hey, here's your new dad. You can't get a new dad. There are no new dads. Here's your new mother. It's impossible. You only have one dad, you only have one mom, and you can't replace them. And I don't mean that as an insult to the stepmoms and stepdads of the world who are working really hard to raise kids that aren't their own, but that's a tough job, and it's hard on both sides, for the kids to accept and for the step parents to. It's hard for everybody because it's unnatural. It's not right. Not a good situation, and I'm kind of fed up with this, alpha male for the kids, and then get married to a beta male, because you're a feminist or you want to push around the guy. Such a common phenomenon, and that has to stop at some point too. It's a real it's a real slam on children's rights, and it's also a big slam against men's rights as well. Okay, thanks for listening, home.